Welcome to the Embodied Revolution Show with your host, Lora Coleman, founder of Embodied Revolution. This is a safe space to connect, grow, and rise into your highest embodiment with authentic identity. Twice a month, we dive deep into inspiring conversations, grounded strategies, and real life stories from women making bold moves aligned with their soul's purpose. So get ready for wisdom you can live, mindsets that transform, and the evidence that you too can rise stronger, wiser, and more in tune with your purpose. This is more than a show, it's a movement. Welcome to the Embodied Revolution. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Embodied Revolution Show. Today, we have the amazing Angie Hawkins. She is a mentor, and she is known for the GLOW method, and she's also the author of Running in Slippers, which we were just talking about. So, Angie, welcome to the show, and today I'm hoping that we can just have a discussion basically about embodiment and your story and everything that you've learned about embodying your true self. What is your mission right now, and why is it so important to you?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
My mission right now is I feel like there's so many women living their lives from a disempowered place, meaning, we're all born with this light inside of us, but as we go through our lives, society systems and family systems or even school systems, they tell us what we should or what should not be. And then we start conforming to all these things outside of ourselves, and it starts dimming our light. And there's just so many people living from this place where their light is dimmed. And I believe that the world needs more fully expressed, radiant women right now. So I'm on a mission to help achieve that goal.
Do you maybe want to share a little bit, like, who is this book for?
So this book is for anyone who has, the way I describe it, anyone who's gone through a shitty experience in life, which in all fairness is pretty much everyone. But I think it's mostly for the people who are open to talking about it, because I feel like we live in a society that hides behind the filters and edits and pretends everything is okay. And some people are okay living in that space. But what triggered me to write the book was actually the main thing that triggered me was in the period after my dad passing away. We live in a just get over it society. And after 2 months, people just expected me to be over it. And I wasn't. And I just remember there was such a disconnect between the way I was feeling and what gets portrayed in society, because, I'd go on Instagram and everyone's posting the highlight reels, or even in real life, we're just not talking about the shitty things that happen to us. So I was like, why aren't we talking about these things? Because we all go through them. And I think sharing these experiences with each other, we can, first of all, not feel so alone, but take things away from other people's experience, so it's not as hard when we're going through it. So the entire goal of the book is connection through vulnerability. So it's for people who are not afraid to talk about what happens in real life.
Yeah, and would you say that by talking about it is how you're going to come to a healthier place? Because when you do bury it inside, because you're not talking about it, because that might seem like, why are you talking about that? Like, I would mention something that would be quote unquote negative. People will be like, why are you bringing that up? And it's like, do you see it like that is a way to heal, basically?
I think so, because the people who are ready to face the hard feelings, because the only way, and I had to learn this the hard way, but the only way, to healing is like to actually feel your feelings and be in the experience. But when you repress it or hide it and try not to feel it, you're going to have to feel it at some point. And I would rather choose how I process my feelings than for them to come up at an opportune time.
Right. So I noticed in the book, I have some questions. So I haven't finished the book yet, if I'm being honest. But I did start it. And I would say, like, why was your dad's death such a pivotal time that really started kind of changing your mindset? Or like, what was like the kickstart of you realizing fully, like, something needs to be done? Like, I need to figure out some kind of method and then the birth of the glow method? Was it your father's death or was it
Yeah,
something else?
that was a huge turning point in my life, because just to go back a little bit, actually to go all the way back, I grew up in a home. The best way to describe it was that both of my parents were extremely emotionally unavailable. And as an adult, I can understand what that means. But as a child, you just don't have the tools or knowledge to be able to interpret that. So the way I
Mhm.
interpreted it was I developed this belief that I didn't deserve to be loved. And as you're probably aware, your beliefs dictate your behaviors, and that, draws in your experiences in life. So I struggled for a really long time because I was a people pleaser. I was always chasing love and approval and things outside of myself. I was a perfectionist. Again, like, a perfectionism is also like tying your worth to, being perfect and never making mistakes. And anyone who's been in those cycles knows it's very exhausting. And I was also deeply unhappy and unfulfilled, yet I didn't think happiness and fulfillment were even available to me. And I just kept living my life like that. And my dad dying was a huge turning point because, number one, I was 37 when he died, and I had spent 37 years repressing my feelings, not feeling my feelings, trying to avoid my feelings. And I was in a period of such profound grief that it was impossible not to feel my feelings. But the problem was, I didn't have the tools for emotional regulation. So I remember he died in early 2017. And for the rest of the year, I basically just felt like shit because I had all these feelings and I didn't know what to do with them. And I also was emotionally and physically unable to repress them anymore because they were so strong. So the reason it was a turning point is because it actually made me think, like, the way I'm living like hasn't been working, so I need to find a different way. And there were some misguided attempts at healing after then, but then, which led to my emotional rock bottom. But that was the
Mhm.
main turning point where I was like, okay, I need to start living my life differently because this is not working for me.
Yeah. And while I was reading the book, in your perspective, your dad was very like emotionally unavailable, but you did, however, when he died, you felt extreme grief. A lot of people would be wondering, like, why did she even go to the funeral? Like, was it to the point of like, why did she even go through all these things of like, you were helping clean out your dad's house? And like, why do you feel like you felt such a deep grief, even though your dad was not there for you? Like,
Yeah, it's hard to, I think there's several parts to it. One part is, if you've never lost a parent, I just don't think you would understand until you have. So that's part of it,
mm,
because losing a parent is a different kind of loss than other losses. So there is that, because even though we were never close, there was this, like, I mean, he was still my dad at the end of the day. So you're still kind of losing a part of who you are. So I guess that's the
mhm,
best way to overall put it. But another part of it was, before he died, I hadn't really talked to him in 10 years, like maybe a handful of times in that 10 years. So on top of the grief was like this immense guilt. Like, maybe I
mm,
should have done more to help the relationship, or like I just felt like I had failed as a daughter. And when someone dies, well, I have a kind of a different viewpoint now, which I can explain in a second. But when someone physically dies, like, you don't have the chance to have that
you can't
conversation,
go back.
or like,
Yeah.
yeah. So there was kind of like this feeling of like, oh my God, I fucked up and this is all my fault. But the beauty in that is, which I later learned, is, when someone physically dies, you can still have a relationship with them, because like now I have a relationship with him in spirit, and our relationship is like way stronger now than it ever was when he was alive. So it's like different. So that was actually like a really good thing that came out of it. But I think it was just more just the losing of a parent, because I think no matter what kind of a relationship you have with your parent, when they die, it's kind of like a part of you also dies. And it's so,
Mhm.
a parent is hard, but it was also the fact that our relationship had been really strained my entire life, but especially the 10 years leading up to him passing.
Yeah. And how would you say blame in general has changed throughout your journey? Because, of course, you've worked on, your beliefs, your inner beliefs. But I know, like, in the beginning, when you were a kid, it is a lot of like blaming.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that changed was discernment, because on some level, because as I was mentioning before, because your like beliefs dictate your behaviors and that dictates your experiences in your
Yeah.
life. So on some level, we have some accountability for anything that happens in our life. But
Mhm.
when I was younger, or like many old versions of me, I used to take 100% of the accountability. So if a
Yeah.
friendship wasn't working out, if a job wasn't working out, if a romantic relationship wasn't working out, I would absorb all of the blame and think that something was wrong with me. It was something that I'm doing, etc. Whereas now I use like this lens of discernment, and it's like, okay, what role am I playing? What role is the other party playing, whether it's a person, place, or thing? And then I kind of think through like, well, what do I have control over, and what kind of boundaries, if necessary, need to be set? So I think the biggest difference is that lens of discernment, because we do
Mhm.
have accountability in almost every situation. I think the difference
Yeah.
is like the amount.
Yeah. So that's like a belief in your brain right there, is that you do have accountability. You need to look at like what role did you play, and like those types of questions that you would ask in your head. So do you want to elaborate a little bit about how would you describe your relationship with your parents now? Did you like forgive them? So I know I said in another interview, how did you forgive your parents? And the person was like, this person was saying, well, I don't actually forgive. Like she doesn't believe in forgiving like that. But would you say you have come to a greater understanding of your parents now?
That's an amazing question. So with my dad, it was easier because
Mm,
after he passed and I did form that relationship with him in spirit,
yeah.
when he was alive, and I call it a meat suit, like in our, human body,
Yeah.
he was an alcoholic, he was depressed. Like on earth, we have all these ego issues, right? But your soul is pure. It's not weighed down by all of those ego issues. So my relationship with him now, like I see his soul and who he really is. So it's a lot easier for me logically to see, like, okay, like I understand why he was how he was when he was alive, but his spirit is actually this. So with my dad, it was way easier. With my mom, it hasn't been easy. I'm actually currently estranged from my mom
Mhm.
because I tried to have conversations with her about, things that happened in my life, or even how she was currently treating me at that time and how it was hurting me. And she wasn't open to talking about it. And so I told her I needed a break from her, and I didn't know what that means. I'm not totally sure what that means. But with my mom, when I first stopped talking to her 3 years ago, I went through this period of extreme anger and resentment because I felt like my childhood had been taken away from me. Even some of the things that happened in adulthood were like so harmful to my self-worth, and like having that low self-worth just affected all these other things in my life. And I actually went through this period of exploring forgiveness because I was like, okay, I need to forgive her. I need to forgive her. And I read books, I would like watch YouTube videos on forgiveness, and like nothing resonated with me. And finally, I came across, I don't know what it was, but I came across this quote, and it was like, you can't forgive other people until you forgive yourself. And I wasn't sure what it meant, but resonated more than anything else that I had seen or read or anything. So I stuck with it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to learn how to forgive myself. And by focusing on myself and healing myself and trying to be the best version of myself that I could be, like I stopped feeling like I became more compassionate towards myself, and that extended out towards other people. But even then, because I agree with what you were saying before about the other person you were talking about, I don't believe in forgiveness because I feel like that's up to a higher power and out of my hands. So I don't forgive my mom. I do have compassion for her, absolutely. But in terms of forgiveness, I feel like just focus on yourself, focus on healing the resentment and anger, and just have compassion for yourself and take accountability. Like, yeah, the shitty thing happened to me, but now it's my accountability to heal from it. Because when you're focused for yourself, on yourself, it just diminishes the any of the feelings you have on the external sources. And I know that was
Right.
like a long response, but I also don't believe in forgiveness. That's the short answer.
Yeah, that was the first time I heard that. So I was like, okay, let me think about this theory, like
Yeah.
basically.
I mean,
So
forgiveness is a really deep subject for sure.
yeah, it really is. So instead of forgiveness, maybe forgiveness in the traditional sense, you're saying it should be focus. So focus over forgiveness.
Yeah,
And
like just
I'm kind of
focus
with
on
you with,
healing.
yeah, focus on healing. And like I tell, women, how can you give that to yourself? So whatever it is that you would need to forgive your parents for, like what did you want from your parent? And let's say it was to say, you've done a good job, how
Yeah,
can you give yourself that? Because you
exactly.
can't force someone else to give you that, right? Like you're never going to be able to force your mom, your dad, whoever, but you can look within and be like, okay, how can I show myself like it's a good job and not need the whatever it is? But also, would you say that your mom is in a way just reacting off of her own trauma? So the reason
Oh, for
that she
sure.
doesn't really understand, like give you what you need as far as emotionally, is because she's still bogged down by some of the same things that your dad was.
Absolutely. Yeah. And but
Yeah.
the hardest part about that is because like I can't in a way I can see the real her, but because she's
Mhm.
still alive, it's sometimes it's because I do think about reaching out to her sometimes, but I know it's just going to be the same conversation because she is still bogged down by whatever issue she has going on with her.
Yeah. I mean, like similar for me on a personal note, I don't talk to one of my parents and it's like the same thing. I'll talk to them like it's my dad. He'll message me like once a year on the holidays. And
Yeah.
then like I don't really message him back because and it's been like that for like years and years. Basically
Yeah.
10 years actually.
Okay.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it's well, basically been 10 years. Because if I message him, the response is going to be a similar response that it's just kind of like, how do you, what advice do you give women? Keep messaging them? Or what point do you just say, like, I have to cut you off because it's bad for my own brain? Right.
Yeah.
So, like, what is that advice that you would give?
My advice to anyone is that your own emotional and physical safety should always be your number one priority in life. The only exception to that is if you are a caregiver and whoever you are caregiving is in emotional or physical danger, then there should be your first priority. But
Yeah.
if someone is not good for your mental health and they're not willing to work with you to change, then I do believe that you need to set a boundary or take a break or do whatever to protect your own emotional safety.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want to talk about the glow method because of course
Okay.
you've been through a lot of things, with your parents. I know you reached like an ultimate low. You can kind of talk a little bit about that if you want to, whatever you're comfortable with. What really do you say like got you to that main point? So this is where we're like gonna put a trigger warning. So trigger warning,
Yeah.
self-harm, suicide attempt. I know like it's the layers and layers deep, but like what is
Yeah.
the main like thing that you feel like led you to actually taking an attempt on your own life?
Well, I would say the overarching theme was simply my low self-worth and having such low standards for myself and allowing toxic relationships and toxic things into my life because I didn't believe that I deserved better. So, and I feel like the downward spiral actually started after my dad died because like it had just unearthed all this trauma I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't get the appropriate help. Although I did try, I will say that. It was just misguided attempts. And then I moved from Chicago to Hawaii thinking like that would change my life, but you cannot move away from your problems. I will be the first person to tell anyone that. And
Yeah.
there was a period of 2 years where it was just like thing after thing after thing. And it was, in hindsight, it was like punches in the face, like you need to change, you need to change. And I wasn't listening. And then COVID happened. And I think that was like one of the major turning points, because I really started going downhill once like all the restrictions and stuff from COVID started happening. But the true straw that broke the camel's back was the end of a relationship during COVID. And in isolation, it really wasn't that big of a deal because it was only like a 6-month relationship, and that in itself was toxic. So it needed to be cut off anyway. But it was just on top of this lifetime of low self-worth and the way I had been
Yeah.
living in that 2-year, like really heavy buildup. And I just had this moment. And I think we all have these moments because when it rains, it pours, right? So we all have these moments like, I can't take this anymore. I can't do this anymore. So I was definitely feeling that. But layered on top of that feeling was the sheer feeling of hopelessness. I truly did not see any hope for the future, which is such a dangerous place to be. So I intentionally overdosed on my anxiety medication. And I spent a day and a half unconscious in my bathroom. I spent another day and a half in the hospital. And I was released from the hospital. And I called a friend. I told her everything that happened. And her response was, "It's not your time." And
Mhm.
it sent a cold chill through my body. And it was so profound. And it actually made me think, I think I'm here for a reason. And so that's when I made the shift. And the biggest shift was I moved out of this victim mindset of these things are happening to me and I'm powerless against them, to I want to start living my life a different way because I have the power to choose that.
Right. So before you were kind of just thinking like, this is just going to keep happening, keep
Yeah.
leaving me. Every job I get, I'm going to get fired. This is just how life is. Like, this is what happens
Yep.
to me. Other things might happen to other people. And that's like the paradigm, like you're saying. Do you feel like when your friend said it's not your time, the way that I see it is like, and of course, I'm not you. That was so impactful because one, it was like what you were wanting to hear. You had been
Yeah.
waiting. Your inner child was like wanting someone to say something like that. But secondly, it was the truth. And I like, to me, your soul might have felt that that was finally the genuine truth. Whereas the other things were never really your truth, right? It was like things placed
Mm.
upon you.
Yeah, I never thought of it logically that way, but yes, I do think that's true. Because the way I always thought of it was I was just desperate for hope.
Hmm.
And when she said that, it was like, it just made me think, oh, I think I do have a purpose because I survived for a reason. And that gave me hope for the future. But I think that still tracks with what you're saying too, because it's like
Yeah.
speaking to my soul's purpose and not just, following my limiting beliefs or all the
Yeah.
other stuff that was going on in my head.
Yeah. Like your soul recognizes truth, like when it's inner truth, like to the
Yeah.
core. And I feel like that was your truth. Like that's how I see it. And that's why you help other women do that. Because a lot of other
Oh,
women, they do
yeah.
need
This
someone
is giving
sometimes
me
to say
chills.
that. But like it's a blind spot, it's a blind spot at the time. And they need mentors like you to be like how you describe it, like a light within. So I know you have the glow method. If you want to like quickly summarize the glow method, and I know kind of who it's for based off of what we've said, but kind of like anything else you want to say specifically of who it's for.
Well, I'll actually start with that because I'm
Okay.
an inner glow coach. So I help women transform from chasing love and approval to radiating it from
Mhm.
within. So
Yeah.
it's for the women who don't feel empowered. And so they're looking for things outside of themselves for their worth. And the primary method I use in my coaching is called the GLOW method. And it's an acronym. And G stands for go back to your childhood, because most of our limiting beliefs were formed as a child or a teenager. And while they may have served a purpose then to protect us somehow when we were under the care of our caregivers, as an adult, they're not serving us very well. And that's why we kind of get
Mhm.
stuck in these cycles that I call it the hamster wheel, because you feel stuck, but it's really just your own prison of your own mind. So you go back to your childhood, uncover what that limiting belief is, because sometimes you have these other limiting beliefs, but they're just offspring of this one main limiting belief. And to go to the root of the problem is how you can actually implement a long-term solution, because anything else is just a band-aid solution or bypassing what that issue really is. So
Yeah.
G is go back to your childhood. L is light yourself up, because my whole coaching philosophy is based on rekindling that light inside of you. And even though reprogramming some of these beliefs can take time, there's so many easy wins you can get right off the bat by rekindling that inner light and doing the things that light you up and bring you joy. O stands for overcoming external validation, because
Mhm.
again, when you're like focused on you and focused on being happy and being the best version of yourself and healing yourself, then you do not give a shit what's going on around you or what anybody is saying about you, because you only care about you and what you think of you. And W stands for welcome yourself back home, because my struggle with self-help before I truly got serious about healing was I feel like a lot of it is marketed as like fixing who you are or changing who you are, but it's really just coming back to that light inside of you and welcoming yourself back home.
So for G, go back to childhood. Other than saying like go back to your childhood, is there like a unique strategy that really puts women in that place? Because I know like for a lot of women, we really wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah, I usually like let the person explain like what's currently going on with them and what they're struggling with. There's different ways you can get to it, but one thing I like to ask is, when in your childhood did you, because I'll fixate on the emotion. So say they're like feeling
Wait, we
anxious.
should just do it right now. We should just do it right, a shorter version, because I know usually your calls are like longer than this. So like do work with her, it would be more in depth.
We can do like a condensed version. And even if we
Yeah,
don't
like
get there,
a
like you'll see
micro.
that. Okay, so what's something that you're struggling with currently?
Something for me, I think like my biggest struggle right now would be like sometimes I can still get into like that proving energy. Like
Mm.
when I know up here that like it should come from just my own inner core.
Also, I'm gonna be a lot more blunt than I would be on a call, because I like to be empathetic and compassionate on a call. So like we'll just bypass all that here for the sake of time. So how does that feel when you're like, when you start, because it's like a switch, right? When you're like, okay, now I need to prove myself. So how does that
Yeah,
feel when you like switch into the proving mode?
well, like it kind of almost feels like I'm betraying myself because I want everything that I do to come from a true, genuine inner core purpose. Like I want it to be purpose led. So when I'm thinking too much about the results of like, oh, how many people would show up? That's what I mean by proving energy, where it's like I'm thinking
Mm.
about what I'm going to say. It kind of feels like I'm betraying a more genuine side of myself that I want to be, if that
So
makes sense.
yeah. So when in your childhood did you not feel seen for who you really are?
Well, basically, like all growing up. So, but like for one example, like I guess what would come up in my head, it's like growing up, even whenever I would say like I want to go to college, like something that normal people would be like, yeah, I want to
Yeah.
go to college, I want to be a nurse or whatever. My dad would be like, oh, like we don't go to college. No one in this family goes to college. That's for rich folk. That's not for us. Like get your head out the clouds kind of thing.
Did
Yeah.
you go to college to prove him wrong?
No, I went to college because I wanted to be a teacher. I actually started as a teacher, but like it really wasn't to prove him wrong though. Like that wasn't the main sole purpose that I went.
And I'll also give you my thought process, which I would not do this on a call, but I feel like currently you're trying to control the way that you are seen because you feel
Yeah.
unseen. And I feel it's like there's something about feeling unseen in your childhood. Um,
Yeah.
so like that's a good example though, because like you wanted to go to college and your dad is like, oh, this is not what we do. So you feel unseen because he's not even acknowledging what you're saying. Like he doesn't even like accept the fact that you want to do something, even though it historically has not been done in your family. Would you say
Yeah.
that's true? Like you felt unseen because he wasn't even acknowledging your desire to go to college?
Yeah, and then basically like any interest I had, he was like didn't care. Like, well, both of my parents, like they didn't care about my interests. They were just like,
Yeah.
go clean the dishes.
Like, so like they didn't, you felt like they didn't even care like who you were
Like
as
they
a
didn't
person.
care. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But mine is like heavy in childhood for that. So I mean, I understand that mine is like way heavier than a normal person because it was like all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely like
No,
maybe
that's
that's why I
relatable.
still want to be
Yeah.
seen. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to your currently, like, but do you feel like if you don't feel seen, that's what's kind of triggering you to like try harder?
Mm, yeah, like if I'm not seen, like I'm not gonna lie, I like to be seen. I don't have the fear of like being unseen, but like
Yeah.
if I'm not feeling seen, I'll feel like um yeah, maybe that I have to try harder, but like I don't like really get into the patterns of like doing more, but I'll feel like it's not working. What is it's not working mean about me? What I need to work on is like it's not really meaning anything about me, you know? Because then it's like, if it's not working, must this mean about me? And then it would be like something negative, and then so I need to bring it back to like it. Why? How is it working? Basically,
Yeah. Or being okay with people misunderstanding you, even.
yeah, maybe so. Yeah,
Because a huge thing is, and I still struggle with this sometimes, like being versus doing. And that's the whole concept of this light, because this light inside of you is just who you are. And sometimes
yeah,
people will misunderstand that, and sometimes they won't. And that's okay. And you have to
that's
be okay
okay.
with that. But I don't feel like you feel unworthy of being seen. It's like you want to be
Mm,
seen.
yeah,
So
yeah, but I get what you're saying too.
not care what other people
Yeah,
like
basically.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because I
so
think
basically it's that if someone doesn't understand you, as long as
exactly.
you know you're doing it for your purpose, then sometimes you just need to go ahead with that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I could see how like the rest of the letters would continue on with that. So L light up yourself. It'd be like, okay, well, what lights you up? So take that and put it with this, and then like overcome, and then the last one is welcome yourself back home. So I could kind of see how those steps would go together to be like an overall like healing of one thing.
Yes.
Even when you clear a lot of beliefs, when you're growing and you're expanding, it's like you have to keep going back.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, that's been my journey. It's like, I'm not scared, like all these things. And then, but then because you're expanding more and now new things come up, you know, so that's kind of how I see it.
One of the best tools I've ever learned in my healing journey, I practice this myself and I recommend this to all my clients, is question everything you do and why you do it. Because it usually goes back to something in your childhood. Because again, like we just unconsciously repeat these patterns and they may not
Yeah.
even be serving us. So if we question our motivations, it starts to bring awareness to these patterns so that we can start changing them.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say about like for me, it's like whenever I was reading your story or learning about it, I kind of thought it was a lot of like you giving your power to other people.
Oh, for sure.
And that's kind of like the main and she's like giving her power to her dad, and now she's giving her power to the ex-boyfriend and like all of these things, you know. So what would could you say about women owning their power? For me, like I'll tell people, what are you giving your power to? Like that is
Yeah.
a significant question. Just that one question. And how can you take your power back and give it to yourself? What is your experience with owning your power or like taking it back?
Yeah, and that's what's really hard about some of the women I work with. And it's also, and this is where I can be very empathetic because I was exactly
Yeah.
in that place at one time. And I usually don't say it this bluntly, but it's all stemming from low self-worth, right? Because when you don't have that worth inside of you, you're looking for it in everything outside of you. And but again, when you bring that focus back to you and you're like, okay, I want to be happy. What can I do? I want to be a better version of myself. What can I do? And when you're focused on you, and it's a process, but eventually you stop caring about what's going on outside of you because you're so focused on yourself. And not only that, when you start to make the changes within you, you start looking at these things. Like in hindsight, I can look at all the things I talked about in my book. And it's like, why did I even care? Because that person was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even care what they think of me. And it's a
Yeah.
process, but that's like what it stems from. And I know that seems simplistic, but trust me, it's like all about focus, because when you're focused on the things outside of you, like that's what's going to be influencing your life. But when you're focused on you and care about what you're doing and being proud of yourself and being happy with yourself, then you're focused on that. And then that is what expands.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're still worried somewhat about other women being offended when you say stuff of like
Yeah,
not being too blunt? Because
yeah, just because, and again, it comes from empathy, because I remember like very early on in my journey, I would be offended by, like, for example, I have a people pleasing masterclass that I just released. And even using the word people pleaser, I was really hesitant, because for me, when I first like accepted the fact that I was a people pleaser, it brought up a lot of shame, because it's not like a pleasant word to be associated with, right? Because there's such strong self-abandonment associated with that. But that level of awareness is what I needed to change. So I'm becoming more comfortable with it, because it's like you need to call it out to be able to change it. So it will at least draw the people who are aware. And if the shame comes up, like that's okay. That's part of the healing process. So I do find myself hesitating sometimes, that's for sure.
yeah, like, because, well, I mean, I love you and everything, but like I noticed like you said a few times, like, I really wouldn't usually be this blunt,
Oh
but
yeah.
like, kind of like, don't take this the wrong way. And I'm like, I'm not going to take anything the wrong way, but like,
Yeah, like, and that's why I felt comfortable doing it with you, because you and I have
yeah, because
talked
I'm like, I don't
before.
care.
But if I'm on a call with someone who we've never met, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you have low self-worth and blah, 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 blah. Like
Yeah,
I would
you want your
like have
mentor
a
to
more,
be empowering. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's a big issue that I see in the industry. I kind of see an issue of disempowering language. You're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, without the empowerment part. I kind of want to bring
Yeah.
the empowerment piece. What is something you see in the industry that you kind of maybe see as an issue, or like that you don't agree with?
Yeah, like what you says resonates. And I think that's why I'm so aware of, well, if I say this, will it bring up too much shame? Because it's not that I'm not trying to, like, I don't want to trigger anybody at all, because I think it's healthy to be triggered a little bit, because again, that's what creates awareness, and that awareness is what would cause someone to want to change. But you also don't want to get someone caught up in a shame spiral. So yeah, I'm very careful about, like, yeah, I would never tell someone like, oh yeah, you have really low self-worth and we need to change that. But I do find that there are people who kind of call it out in that way. And certain people, I don't think are ready to receive that, because there is so much shame wrapped up in it.
Yeah, because even people pleasing, would you say people pleasing just comes from other people's expectations, like the pressures that others put on you growing up?
Yeah, it usually comes from like parents' expectations. Some of it can come from school, because there's reinforcement programs within school systems that also encourage like pleasing people outside of yourself. Like, for example, because the school system is like, oh, you do this homework, you read this chapter, you take this test, and you get a good grade. But if you go out in the real world, like that's not how life works. But you kind of get wrapped up in these systems and appeasing to the systems, and that's giving your power away to the system, whether it makes sense or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like what is that actually telling your subconscious? because
Yeah.
when you are a kid, your subconscious is more open. So it's like, it doesn't have, I say this all the time, but it's like, it's not always about the verbal messages. It's about the messages that our subconscious has picked up
Yeah.
regardless. And like when you make an A and your parent gives you something, what did that tell your subconscious? I have to perform to get rewarded. And then, but it depends on how you react to other things. But no, well, like I said, I started as a teacher. I literally just quit teaching. My admin was great, like my school was great and everything. But I do understand what you're saying as far as like some of the stuff in the educational system didn't track with like my viewpoints. And that was
Yeah.
one of the reasons I quit because I was like, I can't be doing a body revolution and saying these things and then living every day in a whole different environment. What are we telling the younger generation that's getting in their subconscious messages?
A similar experience with corporate America, because there's also a system within corporate America. And I'm like, this is just not aligned with who I am at all.
Yeah,
So I quit and went all in on coaching.
yeah, that's why I had to quit. And one of my number one beliefs is you have to be living the evidence. Like you have to be living your own
Yeah.
brand and beliefs. One person can't be saying like all these things in their brand and then living something different. This isn't working. This isn't aligning. So where are you at in your journey now? What do you want to do? What are your next steps?
Well, I believe in healing as a journey, and I'm saying that because I'm a former perfectionist, because I always used to live for some kind of end goal, and I thought I had to be perfect at everything I did. So right now, my focus is on expanding my business even more, which again, I come from 20 years in corporate America, and that's like a whole system that I had to break out of. So entrepreneurship is still relatively new to me. So I'm just excited to learn more and do more. Like right now, I'm learning more about YouTube because I started a channel and I'm like, I want to learn about how the algorithm works and how to figure out things
Yeah.
out here. So yeah, there's always, with each chapter of life, there's always something to learn and grow.
But I feel like you've evolved to a point where like you are open to helping not just those struggling. You're at a point that you could help even someone not struggling. Like I'm not struggling and you could still
Yeah,
help me. Like or I
for
wouldn't
sure.
see that I'm struggling. And then even women who are struggling, they might not notice it in that way. Right? They might not even be aware of it's their limiting beliefs. They might just be
Yeah.
thinking, blah, 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 like, yeah, whatever. This is life or whatever. I would like to see you maybe like branch out to be like, you don't have to be struggling to work with you, right? Like, because you're open to creating a wave of women who are just acting in alignment, who are making
Ah,
more expansive moves, who are um, just doing like going against the norm 9 to 5,
I'm
right?
making a note of this because,
But right, like you are, like this group is for women who are like just have the same philosophies as you.
yeah.
Because once you band together, it will be stronger. And not necessarily someone who's at like level 1.
Yeah, you're right. Because I think
Right?
even like me now, like I still get coaching because I know there's, as much as I've grown, there's like so much more expansion available.
But those women could kind of evolve into
They're
the
like
next
in
level.
training. Yeah, that would be the
Yeah.
goal, right?
Yeah, because then you could
Oh,
start
I
doing
love
like
that.
in-person events and stuff like that. You could still make powerful stuff happen with that next level woman
Yeah.
because you are at the next level. It's like, yes, you're already talking to someone who's already up there. But is there any like last message that you want to give to women? Anything that's like the number one thing that you would want them to really embody now?
The one message that I always want women to know, because I used to live in a place where I was unhappy and unfulfilled, and I didn't even believe that it was available to me. Whereas now I live in a place where I'm happy and fulfilled most of the time. And that doesn't mean I don't feel sad or whatever. It just means I don't let that pull me out of my own personal joy. So if you are in a place where you do not feel happy and fulfilled most of the time, first of all, you are worthy of it. And second of all, it is absolutely available to you. And I am living proof of that. But also, one thing I've learned about identity and stepping into your next level is it's kind of like the act as if on steroids, because if you want to be a certain identity, like embody that feeling. And when I say feeling, like the true emotion, like, so for instance, if you want to be in love, then embody the feeling of love, whether it's in your life or reality or not, because that feeling is what attracts that thing to you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then like one thing is like, how can women embody it? Like that's number one question that I guess. Like we always hear like embody it. But like, yes, if like she's saying, if you want love, you need to embody it. If you want success, you need to embody it. But like how do we fill in that gap as far as like getting there is like you need to realize and put your brain needs to believe it's realistic and it's real because it is. But like, how are you showing success right now? And a lot of us, we beat ourselves up and we're like, well, I'm not, because it's like, yes, you are.
If you don't see
That's
it,
the
yeah.
thing. Yes, you are, because like there's so many things that you do that is considered success, or it's like right there on the edge of success. Or even
Yeah.
love. You want love, how can you give love to yourself? And some people like who are in that level, they'll be like, well, I don't know. And it's like love, like giving yourself love doesn't have to be this big grand gesture.
Yeah.
Like you can give yourself love at least like a little bit at a time and then like move towards it. So I feel like it's just making it into real life, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Or
kind of what
even
we're working
sometimes
on.
like with love, like maybe there's a song that evokes love. Like there's things
Yeah.
that like can invoke that feeling within you, even if it's not in your reality yet.
Yeah. So give it to yourself and then it will start showing in the
Yeah.
external, right?
And I know that sounds so superficial, but it's like there's no other way to explain it. Or another way I try to explain it, which I know sounds cliche, is like the fake it until you make it. Because it's like you feel delusional being like, yeah, I'm in love and I'm loved. And it's not in your physical reality yet, but that feeling is what it attracts to you.
Yeah, I've just mastered convincing my brain of everything. Because like even if like you were faking it till you make it with love, for example, because just we're saying love, it's like there's gotta be something that you can find to love when you really think, especially like
Yeah.
this is me ranting at this point, but like especially if you
I
were
love
an
ranting.
able mind and body, the fact that we're even walking around.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we can go into the grocery store and there's literally food lined up on every aisle, like food, like
Yeah.
organized for us. And like the fact that like we could just get in a car or a bike and just go down the street and there's food right there, there's gas right there, there's water right there. Like, so it's kind of getting into that mindset of being like, like to me, I'm like, yes, you can kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
No, and that's why gratitude is so important. And again, I know gratitude can seem cliche sometimes, but
yeah.
it's like, yeah, I mean, I live on a remote island and I have like Wi-Fi that enables me to talk to you. Like that's amazing, right?
Yeah, and when you
So it's
stop
just like the,
comparing it, yeah.
yeah, so it's
Stop
just like the
comparing it.
little things.
Because, yeah, I was going to say, stop comparing it to what you're saying, the external, because if I was to sit here, like, of course I have insecurities, like, of course. Like, I'm not going
Yeah.
to sit here and be like, I've never been insecure. I love literally everything on me. Like, no. But at the same time, if you're not comparing it, you can find love for it. Because, like, let's just say for your eyes, like, let's just look at your body and face, like, your eyes. What's going to make you love your eyes, or what should be making you love your eyes? Why would you love your eyes? Because they help you see, of course, like that's the surface level, they help you see, but like they help you see your child playing. They help you see like beautiful views when you're out traveling. The only reason you're not loving your eyes, if you are not, is because you're comparing it to someone else. The only reason you're not loving your body is because you're comparing it to something that is halfway not even real. You know, like you're not loving your body because you're comparing it to the magazine. You're comparing it to what somebody else said, which means you're giving your power to that person, like some ex-boyfriend said. But like the reason to love your body is because like it's carrying you through this world. Like it's being there for you every single day. It's digesting your food. And so I think when you think of it that way, it's like, oh my God, like your body really is like so powerful. Like your fingers, that you could just type a whole book.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. Like, I
that
would
would be,
literally go down the rabbit hole of like gratitude.
but that would be like a good journal prop. Like you could probably fill up multiple pages of what do you love about your body? Because even your eyes, you could probably fill up a whole page just on your eyes.
Like, your eyes are amazing. Like, most of the stuff is amazing. Even if like maybe you do have some physical ailments, yeah. But it's just like putting things into perspective, right?
Yeah, or even like because I wear glasses, so my eyes aren't perfect, but they still work.
Yeah. But then you can even still then be like, well, I wear glasses, obviously, but like, I'm grateful that there's glasses. Like, I
Right.
literally can just go online and order glasses for like actually like $10 from some of those like sites.
Yeah.
But like, I'm grateful that we have glasses to help us see. Like, if we
Yeah.
didn't have glasses, we wouldn't even we would see, but like not as good, of course.
Yeah, it would be
But like,
bad.
yeah, like, how easy is it for us to just, oh, okay.
Well, even on that note, it's safe for us to wear glasses, right? Because I was just
Yeah.
about ready to say I would struggle driving sometimes if I didn't have glasses.
Yeah.
So
Like,
I would be a hazard on the road if I couldn't
and
see.
like, if you can convince your brain of stuff, like, this is what I tell people, like, you tell your brain how to see it. Like, I can sit here and be like, oh, my glasses. Like, why would I do that when like glasses are serving me? Also, I like glasses because it hides my other eye bags.
Uh,
So it's like, of course I have insecurities, but like,
I
it's
like
just,
glasses because they're an accessory.
I know. I actually have the pair of glasses with the magnetic. So like,
Oh,
you can
yeah.
change the colors every time. Like, I
Oh,
can
that's
change the
cool.
pattern every day. Yeah. But
Ooh.
anyways, so yeah, that was our TED Talk with gratitude. But that's kind of what it's about. It's like bringing that into your reality, and that is what is actually going to shift the bigger things and attract
Yeah.
those bigger things to you. Because never did we probably wake up and be like, you know what, I'm gonna have I'm gonna have a book that does this and that and like changes lives one day. Like, no, it just like went there because of like the moves we were making. Like, I
Yeah.
never thought
Because
like,
I was
woke up and was
terrified to
like,
put out my book.
yeah, at the beginning of last year, I didn't wake up and was like, you know what, I'm gonna be speaking on stage on a microphone in front of like high industry women, and like, never did I think that. It just led that way
Oh,
because
yeah.
of these thoughts.
And that's what I tell people all the time. Like, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it's like if you bring that energy into your life in general, like things open up to you that you would not even believe.
Yeah, it's like you have to know that it's gonna happen, but like, I didn't plan it either. Like,
Right.
now I'm like, now I can like say anything. I'll be like, if you were like, are you gonna be on a stage doing this? And I'd be like, yeah, I will be. I don't know how or when, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's
Um,
just it. And then you start realizing like nothing is impossible.
yeah. The first, like, I say this too, like, the first step for like people who want to make like 30K months or something, let's just say 30K or 50K. Like, the first step of making 50K months is knowing that 50K month is like not all that impossible. Like, you got to
Right.
start normalizing making like the 30K, the 50K, or whatever it is your intention. Like, not that it's all about money, but like, I'm talking about the women that I work with. Most of them want to make like 30, 50K or more, like 100K. You got to make your brain believe it. And that could be a whole nother thing. But okay, well, I'm going to wrap it up because we've been talking for like the hour now. But yeah, it was so nice to meet you.
If you would like to reach out to me, my website is runninginslippers.com, which is also the name of my book. So there is information about my book. There's also information about my coaching program. I do offer a free 60-minute Find Your Glow session where we do go into go back to your childhood so we can identify that root limiting belief and identify a solution for going forward. The entire goal of the call is to get you help and get you started on your journey.
So just keep working on your best life. I know if I can do it, you can do it too. And thank you for taking this journey with me.